The sub versus dub debate has been going since time immemorial, and it's unlikely it's going to end anytime soon. But to argue about whether subs or dubs are ubiquitously better is asinine to say the least. Like it or not, dubs are becoming more and more prolific thanks to simuldubbing, and they're only going to occupy more of the discussion as time goes on. I'm of the opinion that it's valuable to discuss dubs as the official English adaptation of a show. By evaluating a dub's strengths and weaknesses as an adaptation, the same way we would about a manga turned anime, maybe we can finally get somewhere with this conversation. In a good adaptation, faithful is the key word. Faithful adaptation of the story beats, the characterization of its cast, and even specific lines of dialogue go a long way to endear skeptical fans and even breed new ones. So, bearing that idea in mind, let's examine parts of My Hero Academia's dub and its efficacy as an adaptation. Well, for the most part, it absolutely shines. Notice though that I said for the most part. So let's talk about All Might, the symbol of peace. All Might isn't simply one character, he's actually two. Powered up All Might the hero, and powered down All Might the civilian. Both forms look and sound different, and there's even a difference in their speech patterns and temperament. When powered up, All Might is the laughing, wholesome, and merchandisable hero. When powered down, he's crabby, irritable, and, well, ordinary. The difference between these two All Mights is admittedly quite subtle, but it's also crucial to represent and highlight when adapting My Hero Academia. For example, our first experience with All Might is as the pinnacle of heroism, rescuing hundreds with a smile. Yet later in episode 1, he utters the word shit as he's powering down, which is highly antithetical to his image as a clean-cut hero, and an indication that his facade is slipping. Conversely, at the start of episode 2, All Might rejects Izuku's dreams of becoming a hero due to regressing to his more cynical and blunt persona. Yet, when powered up 5 minutes earlier, he cheerfully thanked Izuku for his help against the villain. This dichotomy even bleeds into how All Might trains Izuku. When powered up, All Might is cheery, enthusiastic, and even playful. But the powered down All Might is demanding, often taunting and chiding him. It's pretty clear from these examples and the many more like them that both forms of All Might exist to juxtapose each other, constantly causing the viewer to wonder, which one is the real All Might? All Might is more likely to be cynical and negative when powered down, but in direct contrast to this, feats of heroism and determination power him up and animate him. This is best represented in the scene from episode 3 when All Might witnesses Izuku's training on the beach. Oh my goodness! At first glance, this just seems like a silly joke, but the joke is actually multi-layered. It's not just that he spoke English, it's that what he said specifically feeds back into the idea of All Might as a symbol, setting an example. Even without a crowd watching on, he says something as innocuous and inoffensive as "oh my goodness." You can just about see his PG rating. So with such a clear-cut example of one of the most important aspects of All Might's character, the way to adapt this line is seemingly obvious, right?
Holy stinking super crap!
Not only does that not sound like something All Might would say, it doesn't sound like something I'd expect a human being to say. It's like the catchphrase of a bootleg figurine. This line really misses the mark, not just in adapting All Might's character, but as a memorable and funny quote too. Changing what seemed to be a slam dunk perplexed me not only as a critic, but as a viewer too. Why, when the dub was so otherwise consistent and faithful with All Might's English, was this the line that had to change? To find the answer, I reached out to the scriptwriter for My Hero Academia's dub, Jeremy Kratz. I asked Jeremy a lot of questions about his process generally, as well as this scene, and here's what he had to say. For something like this line in particular, the original translation felt odd in the dub because the way we've been scripting All Might, it seemed like a weird thing for him to say in that moment, with that animation. It worked great in the Japanese because there was a sense of wonder added to the fact that he was speaking in another language, which obviously doesn't carry over to an English script. I supplied the director with 3 options for the line. One that was a direct translation, "oh my goodness," One that was taking the spirit of the line and knowing where the story was headed explained a little of why All Might was so impressed. Something like, "You're it, kid, my successor." And one that played around with the sort of corny superhero speeches that we like to give All Might when he's all buffed up. Super crap. At that point, it was up to the director to choose which line ended up in the final cut. Based on that, I think it's pretty clear the main thrust of changing the line was more aiming to represent how All Might said his line and what he tried to convey, rather than the subtle but important detail in what he said, and how that reinforces our understanding of his character. This wasn't the only consideration for the line, however. Another thing to keep in mind on this is the way the flaps are animated. The original translation wouldn't fit, so you'd need to do "oh my, oh my, oh my goodness," which is a flap too long, or "oh my goodness," which would fit perfectly but doesn't have the same punch. I'm guessing that was one of the considerations they had to deal with when recording in the booth. This is most definitely an understandable and legitimate concern, but this really strikes me as an instance where a small sacrifice in technical quality would have been worth it to maintain the atmosphere, narrative significance, and sheer quotability of the original scene. It's something dub fans are used to, or can at least put up with. I'm not trying to discourage innovation or improvement when adapting anime into English, and the original script isn't sacrosanct. But with an open and shut character like All Might, with what seems like an open and shut line, this scene in My Hero Academia seems like the biggest case of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, in recent memory. That's all from me today, but a special thanks to Jeremy Kratz for helping make this video possible by so kindly offering his insights on writing for All Might and My Hero Academia at large.